Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome again to Level Up. I'm your host, Everton, along with my co host to my left, Coach Oliver.
Yes, sir.
And to my right, I got returning guests, Dwayne, and the infamous and famous Mr. Robert. Welcome, guys, to Level Up. And today's show, we're going to talk about what's at hand. June is Men's Health Month. And we're going to dive into that and see what that conversation looks like, health and also mental health. I know that when it comes to certain community, my community, or for me personally, mental health is a very touchy conversation or topic to talk about because that looks differently based on how you were raised. And it's a very live and important conversation that we need to get into. So let's dive right into it as we launch of Men's Health Month. Coach, take it over.
Let's start off with my reflection. When it comes to Men's Health Month, I'm like you in from where I'm from in terms of it was viewed on and saw as soft. Men's supposed to be strong. Men's supposed to
Be a man.
be a man, responsibility, and all these things, right?
Yeah.
So it would never be. It was never a topic. It was never one of those things where we have mental health. That's for other people, right? We don't go through stuff.
No.
However, I get to realize lately that um, that's dangerous
Yeah.
because now we're living in silence and we're hurting. Living in silence is one thing, but we're hurting in silence. And that could be a deadly thing. Or wherever, it's still looked up on, even today, still looked up on, it's man supposed to be still be strong.
Yeah.
Right? I know we're tapping into it, and this is why we're having this discussion tonight, but that's my viewpoint so far.
What do you think, Dwayne?
Well, for me, there's always been a stigma attached to the topic mental health, especially with men. Men, we don't want to talk about it. Men don't get together enough and say we need help. It's almost like a sign of weakness if we ask for help. And I think that stems from this view of us that we're supposed to be the providers, we're supposed to be strong, take care of the family, you know. And I think because of that, we put ourselves in this position where we're isolated by not speaking. Like we keep quiet, we keep silent, and that is hurting us because a lot of men are actually suffering silently, and some are either walking away from their responsibilities because they're ashamed, they've lost their identity, or they give up completely. Some just commit suicide. I think it's critical that men today get together, talk about it, and realize that there's no shame in admitting that, hey, you know what, we need help, and there's a saying that asking for help is not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of strength.
Hmm.
The topic of health has different departments.
Yeah.
When you talk about health and wellness, we all know that there's the physical health where we exercise and we eat well and we go to the doctor for checkups. But there's some neglected areas when it comes to health. And mental health is one of those areas. No one really talks about it. What do you do about it? If you ask somebody, how are they doing mentally, they don't really know how to answer that question. I mean, you know how you're feeling physically, right? You know your knees are hurting. I know your knee,
Yeah.
your legs hurting. We
Yeah.
know the physical stuff.
Right.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
But I think the mental health piece eludes us a little bit, and it's an important area. And the reason it's important is because we can't see it.
Yeah.
It's a silent piece. And just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So I think it's something that we really have neglected, and I think we need to do a better job of addressing it. And I think we're getting better. The old school, the people we grew up or were raised by didn't address it, but I think we are now. So I think this is a sign of progress.
And I think our kids are forcing us to address it too as well.
Oh,
I
exactly.
think they're forcing us to. My son and I this week had a little disagreement, and we weren't talking for like 2 days, no, for one day or so, whatever it was. And driving this morning, I said to myself, he's making me be a parent because if I follow him, I will adapt to being the child and not the parent.
Mm.
And I thought to myself, okay, well, you are the parent. You can't be upset with your son. So you have to lead by example. So I'm talking myself when I'm driving, okay, Everton, even though what he did was wrong, but I can't go silent on him because he's doing that. So that means I have to be the parent and have the conversation. So it's forcing me, so your kids are forcing you to address certain things that you've been feeling. I had a very difficult week at work with some clients. And through that, my reaction was shorter. So what I was dealing with at work, he got it.
Mm.
Right? And because I didn't address it properly over here, I took it out on him in a different way, like in conversation or the way I would address certain things with him. So our kids, I find, are causing us, are making us level up in that conversation. Not mental health per se, but in talking about or addressing our feelings that we don't want to talk about.
100%. And to your point, I'm not sure you knew this, but to your point, our children were born to teach us. Yep, our children are born to teach us. They were here before. And I was listening to a podcast, and the gentleman said, our kids are older than us. And I fully get it. The things that, obviously, because with technology and a digital age, right? They at their age now, when we were there, they're way 10 times above because the world is open up to them. So can you imagine? We're experiencing the world at age 50 something, 40 something, and the world is open up to them at age 10, 12, 15, 17. You know the kind of mindset they're having? You know their views on it? That's amazing to see. So my point is, I want to add on to what you're saying, they're here to teach us. So we need to be humbling ourselves and ready to learn. Yeah. And that's the toughest piece because we're talking about mental health. From a man's perspective, we weren't taught to tapping into our emotional side. And that's the key. Correct. So what does that look like when we're dealing with our spouse, with our wives? With our kids? It becomes challenging. Yeah. And now, as you said, we don't even want to talk about that. That's something that we need to understand. So, yeah, interesting.
You know, I think it's very important also that even with our children or with our spouses or even with our friends, that if we want to, we got to create, in order to create a safe space where people feel comfortable, because other people could be struggling with things, right? But if we are true friends or true partners and we open up and we are the ones to show vulnerability that we're going through some stuff, and we share that with others, that could lead others to open up also and feel like, hey, you know what? This is a safe place where I can have this conversation and start talking about mental health issues, start talking about some of the struggles that you're having. And I think a lot of people don't talk about it because, no one's talking. And someone's got to start the conversation. And once you start the conversation, you'll see that, hey, I'm not alone. So I think it's important that we lead by example, even with our children.
I think as men, we were raised with some distorted perceptions of what a man is. Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier that a man is tough, never shows emotions, never shows weakness. And that's not really accurate, is it? That's really distorted because we are humans. We are as tough and big as we are on the outside. We have on the inside, many of us are not that big and tough, and we hurt, we feel pain, and we need to have a space where we can go and express that and get that out. And unfortunately, in our culture, and maybe in our workplaces, Dwayne and I, we worked in a very tough male environment, and it was not a space that accommodated you expressing your vulnerability. And so we had to sort of stuff it down and soldier on. And we know that doesn't work too well. There's long-term implications of just stuffing it down. So I think what I'm getting at is we have to, I think, redefine masculinity a little bit and help men to understand that you may be tough, but you're going to have some tough days and some tough experiences in your life. You're going to have grief. You're going to have loss, and it's okay. You know, it's normal. It's natural. You're gonna cry. You may have to cry. Maybe not in public, but it's gonna be. You're gonna have some times where you may cry, and take advantage of that.
But I think where to your point, society taught us that it's okay for our daughters to cry, but not our sons. And then they grew up with that perception that boys don't cry. We hear that all the time. And now, as you said, working in your space, they've been working in for so many years, and the things that you probably have came across. And here you are in a male-driven space, and you're feeling a certain way, but you can't express it. As you would say, it's like your car, the engine light comes on, and it's giving you a warning sign that check your engine light, but you're ignoring it.
Keep driving.
Keep driving.
You know what's going to happen, right?
This was happening to our men of society. The engine light is on the dashboard. And that's why men crash so easy. Most men commit suicide. They leave their family. And men, when they do things, they do it to the extreme. And it's not something that's just happened today. It's been building up over the years. But it never had a chance to flush that engine, to have that oil change. It's just pouring on more oil on top of that oil that's been sitting in that engine for so long.
Correct. Which lead me to, I want us to talk about this for a second. How can fatherhood become a catalyst for healing rather than the responsibility? Fatherhood, and you touched on it a little bit when it comes to you and your son. How can fatherhood can be more of a healing more than sole responsibility?
For me, how it's healing me, and I'm drawing from experience, it's forcing me, fellas, to talk to myself and have an internal conversation.
Self-reflection, yeah.
Self-reflection, right? It's literally forcing me. I would say to myself, okay, for example, I said to myself today, who is a parent here? Is it me or my son? Because I literally went quiet for a day. Because how I deal with emotions is to go quiet as a man. We don't talk about it. That's how I deal with my emotions. I go quiet. And in doing so, he went quiet too. And we're both quiet, driving the car, not speaking. And it took something out of me to break that, because he is the child, so he's going to be the kid.
But as he's learning from you.
Yeah,
right.
And then I'm here teaching him a model that one day when he has his family and he's married and his son is not talking, then he's going to go quiet because my dad went quiet on me.
Right.
So do you see how the cycle continues?
Yes, sir.
Because we're going silent, and we're thinking that by going silent, I'm teaching him a lesson. Yes, you teach him a lesson. Don't talk about your feelings. And it forced me to call him. I said, okay, something happened. And I'm thinking that, man, I'm a man. What am I calling my son? I'm like, something happened. Let's talk about it. I'm like, it felt like, this is two men. I'm a man calling my son saying something happened. Let's talk about it. That feels weird. But I wanted, because there is a silence there that I had to break. And it forces me to tap into my emotions.
What does it feel weird? That's a man-to-man. What does it feel weird?
Because man knows.
Because it's your son?
It's my son, you know. Maybe my daughter, I was like, okay, honey, my daughter knows it easier. I'm like, hey, Munchie, what happened? And I'm like softer to her. But I'm calling my son. I'm like, I'm a grown man. Why my son so soft? But because society teaches me how men and men, we have to be like, that's why you see when men walk around with each other, it's always like, hey, what's up? What's up?
Yeah.
It's never a soft, it's always, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? It's always this wall that we carry around.
You know what happened to me? I just start resonating now, just you saying it. What happened to me, you see this parenting thing?
Yeah.
That's my healing. This parenting thing is my healing. Every single person that I'm counseling or I'm mentoring, or I'm on a presentation, 600 people, 10 people, that's a healing session. And when I look back at it, here's a story for you quickly. It's been over 8+ years I haven't yelled or lose my cool. Never.
Wow.
Okay? And the 8 years ago, when I made a decision, is obviously there's strategies to do so, right? And I implement these strategies, but at the same time, I'm a human being. My emotions can flick on any time because I was a yeller, right? 20 to 25 times a day. And I made a decision, I wrote some sticky notes around my house. It's called Mindful Voice, just to remind me. They act like affirmations, right? And then one time I was about to lose it. I think I lost it on my son. And my wife got involved and I lost it. And then my daughter, she was about 5 or 6. 5 or 6, listen to this. She ran upstairs. And then in the morning, I walked her to school. No, in the morning, she asked me to walk her to school because school is just a stone throw away. And she goes, Dad, you know what? What? There's a reason why I asked you to walk me. This is 6 years old. Because yesterday, you said you weren't going to lose your voice, you weren't going to yell, and I see you put all these sticky notes around, and you're yelling. I'm very disappointed. Watch this. I said to her, you know what? Thank you. This is the healing part. And I said, I need your help. I need your help. You should see your face. You know what I want you to help me with? Every time you see me about to lose it, or you see me lost it, I want you to come up with a word and just yell that word or say that word. I want you to tell me what that word is now. She said, okay, I got it. I said, what is it? Potato. I don't know where potato came from. Potato. And she never had to say potato one day in her life. Because that conversation woke me up. Because I made a decision, I wasn't going to yell. I was a yeller. I wasn't going to yell no more. And then that scenario, so my point is that fatherhood, that process, that healing process helped me to kind of tap into my self-awareness, my emotions, control my emotions. Not always loud and like a man. So I just want to share that because I kind of heard what you're saying, and with your son, yeah, it does tap into you internally.
I would say, a real man is a man who can move very fluidly through all the spectrum of emotions. Yeah. And obviously we have anger and strength, and sometimes we cry, we express emotions, fears. I think a real man can move very fluidly
That's strength.
through all of that.
Strength,
Yes.
Because it takes courage to move through all
Correct.
those phases.
Right.
If you're just going to be strong and powerful all the time, that's not necessarily a strength.
No.
Strength is just being able to move through all the spectrum. And I wish I was there, but I'm endeavoring to
I love
reach
that. I love
stage.
that.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. Yeah.
I think as men, being in the head of the house, that we need to lead by example. And I think as far as it can, Oliver, to answer your question about how fatherhood could be a healing part, I think that, I think you alluded to it also, Everton, that speaking to your children in a certain way, saying to them, hey, I'm struggling with this, right? And just by doing that, by saying, hey, I need help with this, or I'm struggling with this, the kids will look at you a little differently and say, hey, my dad, hey,
You struggle? You're a man.
Yeah.
Why are you struggling?
So, and the kids feel a little empowered to say, Dad, you know what? they may offer some advice. And like you said, Oliver, that sometimes kids might even know more than us. And we should never underestimate our children and make them feel less than. You speak to them like they're on the same level, and it can be healing because we can have a conversation now. They'll feel comfortable enough to talk to us about stuff they're going through because kids have mental health issues also. And when they see that, hey, Dad's got the same issues too, like I do, then we can share, and that in itself could be healing for everyone.
Yes, sir. So true. So true.
I agree with that. I agree. I was we were out at an event at lunch with a few friends of mine, and one of the kids was there, and they're saying to us as parents that they don't say everything that they want to say to us because they just think that their voice wouldn't be heard, or they know exactly what we're going to say, what the answer would be, and we're saying that no, we wouldn't say like that. Yes, you would. So kids are saying like, I want to say something sometimes, but because I know what the answer is going to be, we don't even say it, right? Because they know that we are going to shut it down or not being open-minded to have that conversation.
And then there goes their voice.
There goes their voice. So they're thinking that we have no voice, so why even say it? And we as parents are going around thinking that we are just, no, we're parenting, but like, I want to say some stuff, but what's the point? My voice won't be heard anyways.
Because most of the time we're parenting from fear.
Right? Or what we think is best for them.
Correct.
And they're like, okay, yes, it's best for me, but can I add an input to it as well? And I think with my son, what it helps me to do in the car is kids, I find, they speak truth and they call you out. Because he would say to me that, well, you're the one that's talking about parenthood and being conversation and having conversation. Why are you not speaking? Kids are not afraid to call you out.
Yeah.
So him doing that, at first I'm like, but when he calls me out on that, it forces me to level up and to be a better person.
What do you feel in that moment?
In that moment, I felt like I want to protect my ego, kind of thing. I'm like, but then, in the grand scheme of the conversation, it's really the healing part that I'm getting healed from that. It's forcing me as a man to come out that macho or that egotistical way of being a man, but being a human being. And take off the word man off it, and just individual. Like not father, not son, but two-person having the conversation. But when I say father, right away the role that I'm the dad, so I'm in control, and what I say goes. And then right away that gives me a perception of how the conversation should flow, rather than having a conversation like he's an individual. And then it flows differently.
Go back a year from now, a year ago, would you have entertained that conversation?
No, I wouldn't. I would go quiet until he comes around.
Wow.
You matured. You're growing.
Yes, that's growth. That's growth.
But it happened in the moment. I decided to grow in the moment because of these conversations. And back to what we're talking about, having these conversations and this show, it's causing me to heal in many ways I don't even know. Because talking about parenthood, fatherhood, conversation with your sons or your daughter, or being a better person, moments are going to come that cost you to level up in the moment. And you can choose to stay.
Or you think I level up in terms of my emotions yelling. That's exactly why. Because I'm talking to parents. I'm mentoring parents. I'm going on stages. Tons of people I'm talking to. Giving them the strategies. How not to yell. So these things are helping me. So the moment my daughter said, listen, no, I was very disappointed in you. Right away it's going to hit me. Right away. It's a decision. But it's more in the subconsciousness because I've been telling it. So to your point, we have to let go of our egos. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's a process. Because that, I don't know how many times I've been talking to parents, but it's been a while. That old thing, or that old time, it's a process.
We're all going to mess up. We're not perfect, right? And I think that when you talk about you're not going to yell or whatnot. There's going to be times where we're going to do things, we're going to lose our temper, we're going to get upset. But I think what's more important is just to say, hey, you know what? When you have a chance to reflect on it, come back and say, you know what, I'm sorry. You know what, I was just having a bad day. I was frustrated, right? And I think that sometimes we don't do that. And we make our kids feel a certain way. And when it comes to men's mental health, I mean, we want to project this image of being strong, being in charge and whatnot, always making the right decisions, and we don't always make the right decisions. So we have to humble ourselves and say, hey, you know what? I messed up here. I'm sorry, right? And I think that's part of the healing process also with our children and with our spouses, et cetera. I think it's important to be humble.
There are two things I want to mention. I know time is getting away from us, but Everton, you mentioned something really important earlier, and you mentioned it quickly, and that is that suicide. Men commit suicide at a far higher rate than women do. And I don't know if that's well known or not. But
Oh, yeah.
it's true.
Yep.
It's
It's
true.
facts.
So mental health is a serious issue for us more than women do. And part of the reason is because we don't have what's called therapeutic spaces where we can go. I read a book once by Dr. Bruce Perry, and he talked about this concept called therapeutic webs, where it's so important to have spaces where you can go and you experience a therapeutic interaction. So you talked about this show that you're doing, this podcast where we sit around and have this interaction. This is a therapeutic web. This is one of those spaces. And I just want to maybe put a plug in. I know you have a men's group. Dwayne and I are part of a men's group. I don't know if you're part of a men's group, but it's very important for men to be in some sort of a group where they're getting that experience. Maybe you're part of a sports team where after the game, the guys sit around in the locker room and talk, or go out for lunch, or go for dinner. But it's very, very important. A lot of men don't have a place where they can go. And you need to have at least one space. It could be a book club, whatever it might be. It could be church, whatever it might be, where you can go and you can have some sort of therapeutic interaction. It's very, very important for us as part of our plan, a strategy towards being well.
To add to your point, men are less likely to seek mental health support, and men account for 75% of all suicide deaths.
Oh, that's scary. 75%.
75%.
That's scary.
It's a high number.
Very high number.
And I can see that can be so true because I had a client of mine I went to see yesterday, and we're talking men, and he said to me, I have no friends. I said, no. He said, I'm a loner. I go to work, and I come home, and I just chill by myself. And his wife said to me, can you be his friend? Because
Can you be his friend?
And I'm like, I don't even know. But because she's concerned that, like she has friends. She goes out. But he doesn't go out. He goes to work, and he comes home, and he watches TV, but he has no friends. So he has no one to talk to. And he's a man. I'm looking at that. I'm like, that must be lonely. Right? And here I am now seeing an opportunity now to reach out to this individual. So I said to him, listen, I'll give you a call. I have a church group that we have a men's group. I'll invite you out. But to your point, there's many men out there who are like that.
I would say most men.
Yes.
I would say the majority of men don't have a real friend.
Correct.
It's sad.
Correct.
But it's true.
Yep.
They may work with a lot of men. They may be around a lot of men. They may come in contact with them.
Correct.
But they don't have a real friend, somebody who knows them.
One thing I experienced, because I've dealt with men and I'm mentoring men and parenting, right? One thing I experienced is that when they're with their spouses, they were, over the years, they were conditioned to, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. They don't want to, especially when they have kids around, they don't want to cause any problems. So they suppress their feelings, suppress their emotions. So they become aware like this, and they become adaptive to that. So now when they're like, the kids are already grown up, and now they experience this, loneliness. Because it's a condition thing. That's part of what I'm experiencing talking to men.
And this conversation could continue as we continue to talk about men's health and mental health when it comes to men. I want to say to all the men out there, you're not alone. If you need someone to talk to, call someone, a brother, uncle, friend. Have that conversation. Don't stay quiet. We need you guys. You are needed in the community. And strength is not in muscles or in how loud we can shout, but strength is how we can adapt and to level up and to make ourselves better and those around us. So thanks for joining in and look forward to see you guys again next week on Level Up. God bless you. Have a great evening.